Hey, thanks for joining me. Just a quick one here. Um, I've read in, just turned up my volume there. I've read in Yahoo News, MSN News, that the comedian Frankie Boyle has apparently attacked fellow comedian Ricky Gervais for apparently targeting trans people in his acts. Now, I've never really went for stand-up comedians. I prefer comedy programs. Um, but from what I know of both comics, I do prefer Gervais. Um, Let me just put a disclaimer here. I've never had time for Frankie Boyle from what I've seen of him, but to me, this just reiterates my low opinion of the guy. And this is why Frankie Boyle is attacking Ricky Gervais for apparently targeting trans people. Um, Now, if this was coming from a comic who wasn't known for being so outrageous and so willfully offensive, then okay, you might see something in it. But Frankie Boyle is a comedian who has made his name for being outrageous. Um, in the late 2000s, of course, he notoriously um, targeted this disabled child of Katie Price. And at the time, people defended it because they claimed he was attacking Katie Price. I don't buy that. I think he was taking a cheap shot at getting laughs at someone who couldn't defend themselves. Um, my own take on that is I totally understand dark humor. I totally understand risky humor. Okay, um, I get that very straight-laced humor, very innocent humor, probably doesn't have the sophistication that dark humor has, the depth of it in the sense of you know going through a certain layer of provocation, so to speak, which can be very, very funny. So I'm not a Puritan about this. I do understand dark and edgy humor, but I do draw a line at targeting people who can't defend themselves. Um, and I frankly just don't see, I was going to say Danny Boyle. Apologies to Danny Boyle. I just don't see Frankie Boyle's appeal. I just don't. I appreciate people will disagree, maybe some people watching this video, but even if you disagree with me on his form of humor, and you think it's all legitimate, which I disagree with, but even if that's your position, at least acknowledge the hypocrisy. You know, he's attacking Ricky Gervais on the grounds of bad taste and being disrespectful to trans people. Well, how the hell did he think parents of disabled children felt about his cheap shot? I would also say this in a free society, freedom of expression must include humor, but comedians aren't above criticism. And you can't just hide behind comedy to be as obnoxious as you want. I mean, to me, Frankie Boyle's school of comedy is that of a schoolyard bully. Um, Maybe I'm biased against him because I don't particularly care for his politics. He's a Scottish nationalist and he's fairly left wing. I'd be much more to the centre. But even leaving that aside, um, I just think this is a guy who takes cheap shots. And I acknowledge he's got lots of fans. I get it. You know, I'd be a voice in the wilderness with this one, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who resents his hypocrisy. I've even seen some of his fans say that he's hypocritical on this, and I hope he gets heat for it. And I hope Ricky Gervais bites back. Um, and Frankie Boyle, in the minute chance that you're watching this, I think you're a prick. I think you are a card because you target people who can't defend themselves. Um, And if you're a fan, then, well, nothing I say will make any difference. That's fine. This is my opinion. I have a right to my opinion. Comedians aren't above criticism. And no, I'm not calling for censorship. I'm just saying that, you know, you can't just say, oh, have a sense of humor or it's comedy. That's stupid because people have different senses of humor. And what's provocative and witty to one person might be bad taste to another person. But I maintain that if you're targeting a disabled child, and Boyle's never sort of expressed any sense of, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You know, the guy's incredibly arrogant. I just don't have any time for him. But I'm making this video just to point out his hypocrisy, because this is one of the things I'll probably get, you know, sidelined. Um, and I get it, his fans will defend him no matter what. Uh, I mean, there could literally be a tragedy inside Glasgow that kills 30 people, and Boyle would be cracking jokes about it like the next day, you know, several buildings away, and his fans would still support him. I just draw a line at being hurtful deliberately and cruel deliberately. And by the way, I'm not defending Ricky Gervais for his jokes. I don't know the nature of them. Um, Gervais is, you know, quite provocative as well. I wouldn't say as much as Frankie Boyle. But you know, that's what comedy is over the last 20, 30 years. Um, and I see both sides. I understand the nature of dark and edgy humor, but I also think that too many comedians just try to be as outrageous as possible. That's what it's all about these days. And I call me old fashioned, but I think that's a little bit sad. I really do. So yes, dark, edgy humor. Cruel humor is where I draw the line, where it's just deliberately obnoxious. And I think Frankie Boyle's a prick. That's my opinion.